Ground control to Major Tom.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Boyd.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The Tommy Boyd Show will teach you nothing. Nothing.
Always read the label.
Nothing but iniquity and wickedness.
If you really bug me, then I'll say goodbye.
Cabin doors to automatic. Morning. Postmen are in the news. I know it's postpersons, but I'm going to say postmen, and I mean postmen and women. Okay, postmen. Postmen are in the news. They're getting a new uniform. It's going to be trendier than their previous uniform, as if it could be less trendy. They're going to be wearing baseball caps instead of peaked caps, and their clothing is going to be more street-friendly, streetwise, and cash. They're going to be allowed to pierce their faces and wear any number of rings in their ears and noses, but they won't be allowed tongue studs or chains connecting their noses with their ears. So all this has been very carefully thought through. And why not? Because did you know that this country employs 142,000 postmen? That's just to take the mail from the sorting office to your home. 142,000 people. They're all earning about £1,200 a week. That means that we're paying our postmen £160 million a year, you know, and the simple fact of the matter is we don't need them. We don't need them. And because the cost of sending an email is something like a quarter of the cost of sending a first-class letter, they're doing themselves out of a job already because they're actually pricing themselves out of the marketplace. And there is a network of people who already do the same job that postmen do at something like a 20th of the cost, and they are willing and they are able to entirely, completely take over the role of postman. Free call 0500 1053 89. I'm talking about our Paperboys. Our Paperboys and our paper girls. We all have our newspapers delivered, don't we? That means that somebody is trudging up your front garden and pushing something through your letterbox at something like 7:30 in the morning, which for an awful lot of people means the papers actually arrive before your letters do. It would be the easiest thing in the world to dovetail the final act of a letter's arrival, which is the moment the postman gets his hand on it, with the collection from the newsagent of the newspapers that the paper boy or girl is going to deliver. Now, I can't see a single thing wrong with this idea. It will liberate 142,000 miserable men and women from what is surely one of the most soul-destroying jobs in Britain today. All right, it's very well paid, but ask yourself this: who really wants to be a postman? Did anybody at school, when you had a careers lesson, put their hand up and say, "I want to be a postman"? No, of course not. Being a postman is the most lonely job on earth. You're just by yourself, trudging the pavements with your own thoughts all day long. No wonder so many postmen are a little unstable. It's cold. It's miserable. You won't meet many middle-aged postmen who haven't got a touch of rheumatism or arthritis, who have difficulty with their breathing and poor feet. But youngsters, doing their paper rounds for a couple of years when they're fit and spry and cheerful and cheap, would do the job willingly. Free call 0500 1053 89. It's lonely, intemperate, dangerous being a postman. And the fact that we have postmen is the cause of so many unwanted pregnancies in Britain today. I feel certain that the family unit would be much safer if we simply handed over the work done by our postmen to our army of excellent paper boys and paper girls. Free call 0500 1053 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument.
Misfit. Why am I such a misfit?
The Tommy Boyd radio experiment. It does exactly what it says in the papers.
I smell bacon.
Life's gonna suck when you grow up, when you grow up, when you grow up. Life's gonna suck when you grow up. It sucks pretty bad right now. Life's gonna suck when you grow up, when you grow up, when you grow up. Life's gonna suck when you grow up. It sucks pretty bad right now. Life's gonna suck when you grow up, when you grow up, when you grow up. Life's gonna suck when you grow up, and then you're gonna die.
Tommy Boyd.
But hopefully you won't die before we've shifted the job responsibilities of the nation's postmen to our paperboys and papergirls. This one makes sense. Cheryl's a postman, and Cheryl calls from Carmarthen. Cheryl, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking.
Well, it's a silly thing I did, I reckon, to take the work from the postman to the paperboys. I mean, I enjoy my job. It's what I've always wanted to do, and it's what I've done most of my life. Even when I joined the army, I was a postman in the army.
Really? So you learned to be a postman in the army?
Yeah, I was, yeah. It's just totally different to being a postman out.
Who did you deliver letters to when you were in the army?
All the airports, all the railway stations and everything.
Really?
Around London and to the BFPO numbers.
I didn't know that you could get... were you armed?
No.
Oh, right.
But, I mean, when I come out and I've been in where I am now, I mean, it's totally different.
Yes.
I mean, I've got so many... Well, I got around, I've got so many friends and customers, I mean...
Yes, but the trouble is, Cheryl, you're expensive.
No, we're not.
Well, a first-class letter costs 32 pence.
Yeah.
Or is it 27?
27.
27, yeah. And an email costs about 8p.
Yeah.
You see?
But some of these... I mean, I went, like, example, I went to a couple the other day. I mean, they don't have much mail at all.
But a paper boy could do your job, couldn't he?
How many people get papers delivered?
Everybody does.
No, they don't.
Well, you might not.
No, there's quite a few people I know who don't get papers delivered.
But you could get a paper
How
delivered.
many people get their milk delivered? How many people get their milk delivered?
Well, not so many these days, what with BSC and everything.
No. It's because it's cheaper in the supermarket. That's why they don't get their milk delivered.
Are you saying that you live in a remote part of Britain where you couldn't get your paper delivered?
Well, I did some parts of where I delivered. They don't get their mail till about 1:30 in the afternoon anyway.
That's very late, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is.
Now, those people would get their papers about 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, but are they going to... By the time you sort the mail out and everything, it's going to be later, isn't it?
No, if we give the business of sorting mail over to the newsagents. After all, most newsagents...
No, because it takes a long time.
Most newsagents
They need to learn to do it, won't they?
Most newsagents are post offices as well in remote places like Carmarthen.
Yes.
You see?
In the little outer villages, yes.
Yes. So
But I mean,
why don't we combine the two jobs? All right, well, there is another way of skinning this cat, Cheryl, and that's how about you delivering the papers as well?
Yeah, why not then? And get the paper boys up to the job then, isn't it?
Oh, we're going to make someone redundant before 5:15 if it's the last thing we do. Lynn calls from the Wirral. Lynn, you're on Talk Radio.
Hi, Tommy.
Lynn, we're suggesting that we get our paper boys and paper girls to deliver our letters for us.
You're talking codswallop, Tommy.
Why?
I was posted for 7 years, and the pay you get is menial for the hours they put in. You've got to be there at 6:15 in the morning. It takes you till 7 sometimes later to sort the mail before you start. Then you've got to sort out all the wrong addresses, and then you've got to decide where each name goes to where, because everybody writes the addresses wrong and they don't put the postcodes on. And then you've got to sort it into streets and numbers before you even get out on the walk. I mean, I've done at least 42 different walks.
Petal, this isn't Brain of Britain stuff. A chimpanzee could do most of this.
Oh, you try it, mate.
I have. I was a Christmas postie.
You know what else happens, Tommy?
What? I said I have tried it.
Oh, Christmas postie. Try doing it for 7 years. Regular.
What do you mean try doing it for 7 years? What do you learn after 7 years that you don't know after doing it for 2-3 weeks?
You learn that people send mail to the wrong addresses, to the wrong names, and you've got to find out where it's supposed to be going. And they don't even put the postcode on.
Well, tear it up then.
You can't do that with
Royal Mail.
Can.
Well, junk it.
I'll tell you something else, Tommy.
Put it to one side.
The money you get for being a poster is menial.
Well, you see, this is where your argument contradicts itself. Because if it's a miserable, underpaid job, then surely people like you would be right behind somebody who is suggesting that we tear the job up.
It's an enjoyable job.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you do learn to enjoy it. You're your own boss.
Yes, but if we...
Once you get out on the road, you're your own boss.
Marvellous. We're very pleased for you. But if we sack the nation's...
There's one other thing.
If we sack the nation's postman, Lynn, we could build 3 hospitals.
Do you know everybody trusts the postman?
No, they don't.
They do.
That simply isn't true.
I'll tell you a little story.
Oh, please don't.
Oh, well, it's quite interesting.
Well, you might think so.
Well, all right, I won't tell you then.
Well, I mean, what passes for interesting in the Wirral, you know...
Well, I was
Have you ever tried telling your interesting story in Newcastle?
Well, okay, I was doing my walk.
You're going to tell it, Geordies. If you're a Geordie and you find Lynn's story interesting.
Well, I was doing this walk, and this little lad, he must have been about 6,
Yes.
said to me on the Monday,
Yes.
"Are you a girl?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a girl." On the Tuesday, he said, "Are you sure you're a girl?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure I'm a girl." On the Wednesday, he said, "Are you really a girl?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a girl." On the Thursday, he said, "I don't think you're a girl." I said, "Well, as far as I know, I'm a girl." On the Friday, he said, "You're not a girl, are you?" I said, "Well, what am I then?" He said, "I think you're a policeman." That's funny, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, I take back everything I said. Thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. All I'm suggesting is that there might be a better way of having our mail delivered. And since you, in all probability, have 2 people tripping up your front path every morning, one with the papers and one with the mail, it surely isn't beyond us to meld these 2 responsibilities. The cheapest way of doing it would be to let our paperboys and girls deliver our mail. David calls from St Albans. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, David.
Hi there, Tommy. Your research is a little bit strange, isn't it? I thought the post was 26 for first class.
27 it is, in fact.
Since when?
I don't know since when, but that's how much it is.
Well, I paid 26 the other day, a couple of days ago. Anyway.
Yeah, but you don't know whether the other person at the other end had a penny surcharge, do you?
Well, I took it to the post office and they asked for a first class stamp and they gave me 26, so anyway. You said £1,200 a week for the postman. Did you mean 120 or what?
The average postman's on around about 60k.
So how much is that?
About 1,200 quid a week. That's what I'm told, with perks.
1,200? Really? Oh, I think I'll become a postman. But,
well, you won't be able to. If this scheme goes through, you'll have to become a paperboy.
A paperboy, right.
Yeah.
You also said it was dangerous.
It is very dangerous being a postman.
But do you think it's a good idea to put young children in that position?
Yes, because they're not prone to rheumatism and arthritis.
Dangerous. I thought you meant dangerous from getting attacked by dogs.
And their balance is better. And they can run quicker than dogs. They can outstrip an Alsatian.
And then you said something about unwanted pregnancies.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like an incentive to be a postman, doesn't it?
It does.
You said it was lonely, but it doesn't sound that lonely. It sounds quite friendly, really.
Well, it depends on how much conversation takes place, but you see my point.
Well, that would cut down on that, admittedly. Why don't have them delivering milk as well? Have you thought, actually...
People don't want milk anymore. People aren't drinking so much milk.
No, perhaps not.
No.
But how about if you want a parcel?
No, look, be serious here.
All right, well, how about if you want a parcel delivered?
Yes, well, the paperboy
How are the paperboys going to carry parcels and all their newspapers as well?
Well, they get a bag, don't they? Just like post people do. Come on, you don't need me to tell you this.
I know, but you can't carry a lot of parcels
These
in a
are
bag.
Well, what is your problem with this idea? This is simplicity itself, this idea. It would work and it could work. It may take some time to push through, what with conservatives like Peter Mandelson running the country, but it's gobsmackingly obvious, isn't it?
We need to have more jobs, not less jobs, don't we?
The Post needs to compete with electronic mail.
It does.
It does, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
It does, doesn't it?
But wouldn't you rather get a love letter from someone rather than a love email? Something you can hold,
You're really sinking here, aren't you? I mean, it's one of those annoying things, David, isn't it? You think you're a reasonably intelligent person living in St Albans, and yet this has never occurred to you.
Oh, lots of things occur to me to save money.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm going to save talk money now by letting you go, since we're paying for the call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. The idea is simple and it would work, and one day it will happen. We get our newspapers delivered in this country, and indeed it happens in most parts of the Western world. Our newspapers are delivered, and then a little bit later on, usually a man, comes and delivers our letters. We simply have to fuse both jobs to cut an obvious cost, an excess cost, an unnecessary overhead. If we saved the wages on our 142,000 postmen in Britain today, £160 million per year, that would build 3 hospitals. Free call 0500 10 53 89. The Paperboys and Papergirls of Britain could do it and would do it. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Dad, how...
Poison the water hole.
Cutting edge.
Tommy Boyd sucks less.
I don't want to bring this up, but you've been treating a lot of people with a lot of disrespect.
Yeah, like postmen. Today's the day we make 142,000 of them redundant. We don't actually need them. We've got paper boys and paper girls delivering things to everybody's homes. All they need to do is pick up your letters and drop them off. Free call 0500 10 53 89. They'd probably be better at it than most postmen. Paul calls from Essex. Paul, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
You did miss one slight kind of faux pas with this, because you can just see the headlines now with schoolboys selling mail at school. You know what they're like. They'll sit there, they'll think, oh, this is quite a thick piece of mail. I wonder what's inside. They'll rip it apart, and then all of a sudden, your mail's disappeared. It's all very well with papers being delivered. You know it's coming, but you don't know the mail's coming. Therefore, you're stuck with a situation where you don't know what you're getting and what you don't know what you're getting.
Well, let's share your distrust of the younger generation, Paul. That's point one. Okay?
Hardly a distrust, because we were all young once.
What you're saying is that you were a young crook.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Your friends were
What I'm saying is that youngsters are inquisitive, and when they receive something in the mail, and they all know what a credit card is and everything else, and unfortunately the kids can pick it up from telly or wherever, and they'll quite happily open the envelope.
This is taking suspicion to satanic proportions, man.
Well, but you couldn't ask children to deliver something as important as mail, surely.
Well, what was important that you got in the mail this morning, Cocker? Come on, let's have
I
it.
confess, unfortunately, my postman didn't turn up before I went to work.
Oh,
It was a real nightmare.
Yesterday. What was important in your... Come on, what was important in your mail yesterday?
I had some share funds come in, I had a new credit card arrive, and my telephone bill came in.
Yeah. And your credit card, of course, arrived complete with its PIN number, didn't it?
No, of course it didn't.
Oh, really?
But it still doesn't stop anybody taking the credit card off the piece of paper, putting the signature on the back.
It wouldn't have been any use to anybody then?
Well, of course it would have been of use to somebody if they could put their signature on the back and walk into a shop with it. Yes, of course they could.
A 14-year-old?
Well, you know what they're like.
What are they like,
Randy? The other day, there was a girl dancing on the dance floor, and there was no... I mean, it's jailbait, you know?
Yes.
Real jailbait.
Yes. Well, thank you for that little keyhole view of your world, Paul. And back you go to it now.
Keep it up, Tommy.
God, dear me. Mark calls now from East London. You're on Talk Radio, Mark. Let's get constructive again, shall we?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm basically agreeing with what you say.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm agreeing with what you said earlier, the inverse of it, which was that the postman should, in fact, deliver the papers rather than the other way around.
I see.
And this actually happens to my parents, in that they have a postman who delivers their papers. Because I don't think any paper boys would do it, because they live out in the sticks somewhere. And also, you get all the problems with various firms employing youngsters. There was a cosmetic company recently that got into a fair bit of trouble with it. But you also had a woman who I think was a postman on earlier. I didn't hear the end of the call because I called you.
She claimed.
Well, she claimed, yeah. She was also saying everyone wrote the wrong address down and that post people had to interpret it. Well, I received a letter today that had my house number right, but was in fact for a completely different area of London, to a different name. I just stuck it straight back in the post box, but I thought if they actually did their job and delivered it to where it said instead of where they thought it was meant for, then maybe things would be better done.
Yes.
And that's basically it.
Mark, I'm very grateful for your call. Thank you for your support on this one. It's pretty simple. We simply have to refine down 2 jobs so that we have 1 job. It happens everywhere else. I suppose the fact of the matter is that the work of the postman and the work of the paper boy have become so institutionalised down the years that we see it as being part and parcel of this cherished thing, which is the British way of life. But, you know, things move on, don't they? And we must move with the times. Michael calls from South London, and we'll speak to him after Mark, who's in Bristol. Mark, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tom. Tom, I'd love to know where you get your facts and figures from. £1,200 a year?
With perks?
No, was it a week, wasn't it?
With perks?
No, it's not, Tom. No, our basic is about 212. Flat money is 167. With little bits and pieces, as in leaflets we deliver and that, it could put up to 200.
Wait. Let's get real, shall we, Mark? You get a car, you get a uniform.
We don't get a car.
You get insured.
They do cover you on insurance, yes.
And you get cheap stamps.
We don't get cheap stamps, Tommy, no. No, we don't get any perks like that.
That's not what I've heard.
If I didn't have a vehicle, I wouldn't be able to get work in the morning because of the bus service. It's non-existent. It doesn't exist in the morning, so...
But nevertheless, Mark, a paper boy could do your job, couldn't he?
Well, they'd have to get out very early, wouldn't they?
Well, they do.
They'd be shattered when they get to school, wouldn't they?
Well, they already are.
We start at 5:30.
Yes.
And there's a revision going on now. We're all mail supposed to be delivered by 9:30.
Quite right, too.
Well, I finished about 11:30 on Monday because we got a double dose on the Monday because of the weekend build-up of mail.
But if we handed it over to our Paperboys, they're all at school by 9:15. All our mail will be delivered by 8:30. There's a lot of people listening to you, Mark, who are shouting at their radio that they don't get their mail delivered until after lunch.
Well, how would they carry it? Because some postmen go out 4 or 5 bags of mail. How would they carry that with papers?
There are more Paperboys than there are postmen. So your round, you see, would be divided up between half a dozen youngsters who would hardly notice they were doing it. Provided the shops sorted the letters into the papers, then they'd simply push through the bundle of newspapers along with the letters.
I don't think you realise how much mail there actually is. Average house now gets like 6 to 10 letters some days.
Garbage.
450 calls.
Garbage.
Some are 600 calls per day.
It's garbage, isn't it, though? This is the problem that your industry has. The bulk of what you deliver is unwanted.
And that's not our fault, though, is it?
No, I'm not saying it is, but it is a problem which nevertheless contaminates your profession.
Yeah.
We are increasingly looking on your visits with disdain and fear. Fear. It's not so much a case of the postman rings twice, but with these new fashion regulations that you're allowed, the postman is allowed 2 rings,
I haven't seen that yet, actually.
Yes, you're going to be wearing baseball caps, mate.
Or back the front?
No, you're not allowed to wear them backwards. They've stipulated that.
Oh.
But we don't need you, Mark, really. Electronic mail and Paperboys could very easily tie the thing up between them, couldn't they?
Well, I don't think so, because the amount of mail's growing all the time. The amount of weight you carry now, a child wouldn't be able to carry that amount.
I must admit, you do sound very tired. Have you had a nap on the sofa today?
No, I haven't. No, I'm wallpapering, actually. I'm shattered, yeah. So I tend to burn the candles.
He tends to burn the candles. Free call 0500 10 53 89. A word with Michael now, who calls from South London. You're on Talk Radio. Michael, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Sir.
There's a little problem with your argument. Nice argument there is that the Paperboy should deliver the post instead of the postman.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually I don't have the papers delivered. My neighbour has the papers delivered, and then when he's read them, he can't bring them to me, Tommy.
That's not a problem, is it? If you live next door.
Yeah, that means that he'd read all my letters before I got them.
No, the Paperboy will come round and deliver your mail. It's hardly out of his way, is it? It's an extra 50 yards on his route. What?
No, but he delivered them next door because I don't actually get the Paperboy. It doesn't come to my house.
Come round to your house with your letters, you fool.
No, Tommy.
What do you mean?
As well, my neighbour, sometimes, especially on a Sunday, if there's a particularly juicy bit in the newspapers, he cuts it out. So I'm looking forward to the juicy bit about the page 3 girl on maybe page 14. I get there and it's missing. So suppose I get a letter from my girlfriend and page 4 or 5 is missing because my neighbour's cut it out.
Yeah. Free call 0500 10 53 89. See, this one works. This one works. This is absolutely nailed on, copper-bottomed, rock solid. This is a 5-star, 24-carat idea. We don't need postmen and Paperboys. Something's got to give. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Jamie calls from Aberdeen. Jamie, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
How are you?
Well, since you ask, fine. And
Good
you?
To know. I'm just great.
There.
Paperboys. I was one until about a year ago. I'm 16 now and I've given up. I'm on to proper jobs. But you do not want Paperboys doing the job of postmen.
They could do it, and so why don't they?
We're totally unreliable.
Who are?
Paperboys.
No, they're not. Totally unreliable. That's a loose use of the language, pal.
It is totally... we're totally unreliable.
No, totally doesn't belong in that sentence.
Okay, we're unreliable.
No, again, that's too totalitarian.
Okay,
the IQ of the average paperboy is probably greater than the IQ of the average postman.
I'd agree with that.
Right.
Which makes them unreliable in other ways.
Oh, intelligence is an impediment?
All that...
You should go far.
All that matters to a paperboy is getting that money at the end of the week.
Yes.
So they don't care. If the only people that they're going to make sure get their papers every week, they make mistakes all the time. They have the little notes written on the top. The only people that make sure get the week are the ones that tip them. But that's a tip. If you want your paper delivered regularly, give your paperboy a tip every time. It works every time. Because we look after them. It's like the mafia.
And postmen don't expect a Christmas box.
That's right.
Postmen don't send you a Christmas card. A cheap one, a very cheap one, a very cheap small
they do,
one.
But the Paperboys, in my experience,
last week in November.
It can be very, very...
Merry Christmas from your postie.
Yes. I've seen them.
Yes, and that's meant to cost you a tenner.
Yeah.
$2,500 the average postman gets in Christmas boxes.
Indeed.
Indeed.
And your figure, 60,000 a year, you say?
Around about. That's with perks.
Right. That 12,000 a week. A paperboy gets about a tenner.
1,200 a week. Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
It's a travesty. It really is.
The cost of a first-class stamp would come down to something like 7p if we eliminated postmen.
It is a travesty that we get £10 a week.
Yes.
And the rounds are always longer. When you sign up to be a paperboy, they'll tell you, 35 minutes tops. 35 minutes. And you have to go up there, and you have to get your papers, and you have to go all around, you have to take them out of that bundle, and you've got to put them in the right ones. You've got to make sure you've got all the right things. You go up steps and down steps and through gardens with dogs in, and it always takes like at least double the time they say on the round.
Jamie, thank you for your background. We don't need postmen. We don't actually need paperboys. We don't need email. What we need is the world's #1 international express courier. DHL. Now, if anybody can get anything from A to B efficiently and cheaply, it's DHL. And yes, we are wed, they and this show. And how pleased and proud we are about that. We play the Global Challenge with them every week. There's one underway now. We'll find out tomorrow or maybe on Thursday just how well DHL have done with their current challenge. But if you've got something you need brought to you, or something you need to send somewhere strange and remote, up a jungle, or I don't know, bottom of the ocean bed, that'd probably be pushing it. Middle of the salt flats somewhere in Australia, up a mountain, a jungle, I don't know, something odd and unusual as well. Something that you don't really feel you ought to hand over to the post. Right, that would make a perfect global challenge for DHL. They are, after all, the world's #1 international express courier, but we say to them on a weekly basis, how good is that? If you've got something that you'd like to make part of a DHL Global Challenge, then you can fax the details to me on 0541 59 69 79. I'll say that again in a second. Or you can drop me a line. It's DHL Global Challenge, Tommy Boyd Show, Talk Radio, PO Box 1089, London W1A 1PP. Once again, that fax 0541 59 69 79. Isabella calls from Airdrie.
Airdrie, right.
Airdrie. Isabella, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Listen, the more I listen to you, the more upset I'm getting. Listen, my son's been 25 years a postman.
Oh dear.
His take-home pay on Saturday was £150 because he was off on holiday and he hadn't a Saturday extra premium. Listen, he's 4 bags of mail today. That was carrying 4 bags of mail full of like Sky magazines, and how on earth could a young boy, paperboy, deliver that? They don't get hardly any perks. At Christmas they get 20 stamps. That's a Christmas present, and a £half box of chocolates from the firm. He goes away from home at 4:30 and is not until 1 o'clock. So where on earth they get the wages that they're getting today, I think it's a disgrace. I think you should think shame of yourself for saying that. You come and change your job one day with the postman here in Airdrie, and I'll tell you something, you'll know all about it. You'll have skint shoulders, sore head, sore feet, legs bitten by dogs and everything. I'm really, really mad at you.
It's well known, Isabella, that postmen are paid less in Scotland than they are in the rest of the United Kingdom.
Talking like that. I really am mad.
But that's because the job is so much easier. Because
you must be joking.
There are fewer of you.
Do you think, listen, it's not much easier. You think the Scottish folk don't get mail?
No, I think Scottish folk tend to use the telephone more.
I'll tell you, you didn't wonder, because sit and listen to the folk that's phoning in to say how much postman's wages are. It's a pure disgrace. They maybe get their uniform and they get 1 pair of shoes a year.
Well, maybe he doesn't tell you just how much he is pulling down.
Oh, don't act it. Listen, my son leaves his pay line lying about anywhere and I can open it and see it when I like.
Is that what you do?
Pardon?
Is that what you do?
That's what I do, yes.
You open your son's pay packet?
No, I don't open it, but if he leaves it lying, I lift it and look at it.
If he leaves it lying around, you have a sneaky look at it?
Of course.
What do you mean, of course? What do you mean, of course?
But I don't see where you're... Oh, did he say that?
Don't you realise that he knows this?
He knows what?
He knows that you are... that this is the sort of thing that you've always done.
I don't always do
Go through his things. How old is he?
He's 40.
And you're still going through his things?
I don't go through his things. But if one's lying about and I know it's to get put out in the bin or wherever it goes to, if I sneak look at it, you would do the same, I'll bet you.
What you don't realise, Isabella, and this is a very important point, that your son is feeding you doctored information.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No,
he certainly is.
My son's honest, and he's nearly 25 years a postman, and I'll tell you,
Yes.
the postman here will go in their dinger about you the days.
I bet he drives round to see you in that old car he's had for
He
several
has
years.
an old car,
Yes.
definitely, yes.
That's the one he comes to see you in.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the one that comes to see me in.
But have you seen what he's got in his garage at home?
Oh, listen, don't make it a fool. Don't make me a fool. But I'll tell you something. Oh, I'm really mad.
What?
That's the angriest I've ever been at you. And I've heard you many a time talking, and sometimes you talk a lot of trash, but today it's really, you've been over the top about postman. That's all I want to say to you. I really am mad at you.
Mike calls now from Walsall. Mike, perhaps we can be a little bit more constructive here. You're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Mike.
I think you've hit on a brilliant idea there.
Thank you.
There are thousands and thousands of young 14, 15 and 16-year-olds who don't really want school.
No.
And it's not good teaching them to go onto computers because they're never going to go on computers.
No.
And we've got a group of children, well, I'll say children, young teenagers there, who could work, cheap labour.
Yes.
We could save us, well, apparently all the postmen seem to be complaining about £160, £170 a week. I'm sure the kids would do it for a quarter of that and enjoy it as well. Instead of going to school, they could probably do a bit of school work overnight. In fact, they could expand it onto probably sending them up chimneys and cleaning chimneys out as well.
Well, hey, look, I mean, that worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been so successful. And if it didn't work, probably could have a bit more protective gear, though, so they wouldn't get so much fumes down them.
You'd give them proper equipment, and what is it they use? Crampons.
I don't know.
Rock climbers do it, don't they?
Yeah. Well, there's got to be jobs out there that adults don't want to do. And
I couldn't agree with you more. And I remember through the hell and the horror of my early teens at school, how eagerly I would have taken with both hands the opportunity to spend 1 or 2 days a week away from school doing anything other than sitting on those hard forms listening to someone drone on.
Yeah. Plus, as well, that could retire earlier. So if they started work earlier,
yes,
that could retire. It could be like, if you worked 1 year when you was 15,
yes,
you could get 2 years off at the other end. And it's like a bonus type of system.
You're a forward-thinking man, Mike. The future belongs to you, and I'm grateful for your contribution.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
In the next slice of the programme, we turn our attention to transport. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
DHL Worldwide Express.
Okay, it's 11:15 and you haven't had a drop, but you're driving home at night and you reach across to get something out of the glove compartment and your car just goes a little bit offline and then back again, and you were being followed, and so and you get pulled over. And you sit in the car and you don't know what to say, and he gets out and he comes down to see you. And he might reach in and take the keys out of the car. They do that. And then he'll ask if it's your car. And then he'll ask you what the registration number is. Okay. Let's talk about those car plates on Street Beat Symphony this afternoon. What use are they at all, apart from giving the police an opportunity to establish perhaps, maybe, that it is your car? If I were a car thief, perish the thought, if I were a car thief, I'd make sure I'd quickly memorise the registration number of the car that I'd stolen. And have a quick look in the boot as well, because that's the other way they verify that it's your car. Now, what use are car registration plates? Free call 0500 10 53 89. You simply can't answer the question. Not only are they utterly useless, not only are they extremely expensive, because whether you've paid £7,000 for a brand new car or £355,000 for a brand new car, it still says registration plates extra. Free call 0500 10 53 89. They are without use, they are extremely expensive, and the only possible use that they might have, okay, is entirely invalidated by the fact that it's impossible to remember somebody's registration plate. All right, here I am. I'm an armed robber. I'm speeding away from the scene. My registration plate is H53DOW. Remember that. Go on. Remember that. Whilst you're rushing around wondering what's going on, knowing that the police won't arrive for another 10 minutes. What's my number? You've already forgotten it. It's impossible to remember a registration plate. The whole concept is totally ludicrous and given over to human vanity of the worst kind, as in personalised number plates, or even dafter, and far worse than that, italicised. Personal number plates. The whole business is a human nonsense of Everest proportions. Free call 0500 1053 89. You don't need them on the front of the car at all, because people committing crimes are rarely coming towards you. Hit-and-run drivers usually are going away from the scene of their crime. You don't have number plates on the front of motorbikes. You don't need number plates on the front of cars. It's just an extra 50 quid. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Let me do a simple experiment. If everybody were to have, instead of a registration plate on their car, a simple plate which contains two nouns which are yours and yours forever, such as elephant blancmange. You will never forget elephant blancmange. There are enough nouns in the English language to provide everybody with a set of registration nouns which you can recognise, provided you're literate, and if you're not literate, you won't know what a registration number means anyway. You can recognise it instantly and you will never forget it. Let me prove it. What are those two nouns again? You remembered. What was that number plate of the armed robber? You've forgotten. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyds, this is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listeners.
A National Express carrier.
It's official. More people are listening than ever before. Talk Radio, your award-winning station with the largest audience ever.
Kevin calls from Crawley. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Tom. How are you, mate?
All right, you?
H53DOW. What are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous. How much crime do we clear up from people giving indexes from number plates? Loads and loads and loads. What would we do without it?
Well, we don't clear up as much crime as we would do if number plates were more memorable than they are.
No, because a lot of people now, they're switched on. As soon as they get the number plate, they think, that's interesting, I'll write that down. And a lot of people do now, and more often than not these days, they get it right.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Why do they do that then?
Why do they what?
Write down people's number plates.
If they see something, I mean.
Like what?
If they see something interesting.
Such as what?
Well, crimes that are going on, as you said, cars speeding off, road traffic accidents. The same thing with the front. It is true.
It doesn't
It is true that when cars drive off, people normally will be looking at the back because they've seen something. Yeah. But it does also happen that cars will be coming towards.
No, a car doesn't come towards you that has just committed a crime.
It might have been in a road accident or committed a crime. It could be driving off from a bank, having done a robbery. Somebody would be coming towards them down the front. There you go, look, front number plate.
No. It doesn't work like that. No, Kevin, you've not got your wits about you, pal, if you think that's what happens. The next time you see a car coming towards you that you think has committed a crime, do ring and let me know. I shan't be hearing from you for quite a while.
I'll probably ring you tomorrow afternoon. I'll see something coming towards me.
Maybe in Crawley. Maybe there's more crime in Crawley than anywhere else. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
I know, it's a bit quiet down here.
Reputation that Crawley has.
Anyway, the thing is, number plates, they're essential. You've got to have them to tie people to their cars, which we need to do frequently.
Who's we?
Well, the country.
The country?
Yeah.
The country can come up with something better than number plates.
What, like words?
You see, there's no poetry in a number plate.
We don't want... That's the whole idea. If we started getting into poetry with cars, that would just be a load more grief.
Why? We call our cars beautiful things, don't we? All the makers' names of cars are beautiful images, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is, the number plate is an idea for the number plate to be detached from the car itself.
Yes, I mean...
So people can... They don't have to think of beautiful words or nouns or whatever you're talking about.
You can't
Tommy, that is garbage. That is garbage, mate. It's a number. It's a number, and people think, yeah, I've got the car, there's the number.
We can do better.
Well, what is it going to be then?
Nouns, a juxtaposition of nouns are much easier to remember than random numbers and letters.
A juxtaposition. Yes. So how many nouns is each vehicle going to have?
Well, supposing we took two random words such as ignorant elephant.
Yeah.
Okay. Supposing that was your number plate.
Yeah.
All right. Well, It would be easy to...
No, for a start, you see, mate. For a start, everyone's number plate has got to be the same size.
Yes.
Everyone's got to be the same size.
Yes.
So, ignorant elephant.
Yes.
How small's the writing going to be?
Well, the same size as it is on your number plate at the moment.
Oh, it can't be, can it? It'd be too big. It'd be 3 times the size of the number plate we've got.
Where did God say that number plates have to be 1.5 foot long?
All right, so we've got... I've got ignorant elephant, and my next door neighbour's got, say, 2 bob.
Yes.
Well, it's just not going. It's going to look completely different, isn't it? It's going to have 2 titchy little words.
Well, at least you're allowed to choose your number plate.
Well, who said you can choose?
Well, again, God didn't say that somebody else shall tell thee thy number plate. We live in a free world. We are free men, Kevin. Have you read Proust?
I've never heard of him, mate.
Dean calls from Gloucester. Dean, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, I just want to say what a load of rubbish they are.
Number plates?
Yeah, they are totally rubbish and utter waste time.
And they're an eyesore on the car.
They're just rubbish on everything. I think they're just a waste of time and a waste of money.
They are?
Yeah.
Thank you for your support. Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express. Stephen calls from the West Midlands. Stephen, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy. How you doing, mate?
Still well, thank you.
Jolly good.
Yes.
You're talking a lot of rubbish again.
Yeah, go on then.
We need registration numbers for the MOT certificate as well. H53DAW, by the way. I remember that straight away. I recognise registration numbers like that. Elephant banana, elephant blancmange. You always use that word elephant, don't you? I don't know why, but we need them. You have them when you windscreen numbers sometimes, so you have to have a registration number to know that car belongs to you. So, what are you talking about?
I bet you were one of those boys who used to count number plates when you went on holiday in the car, didn't you?
Don't be daft.
Stephen?
Don't be daft. I'm not that sad, Tommy.
But you're good at remembering car number plates, are you?
Oh, yes.
How many cars have you had?
How many cars have I had?
In
I
your
don't
life?
drive.
You don't drive?
I don't drive.
What
no.
in the name of our maker are you doing in this part of the show?
Because I work with cars.
You're
I've got to
completely...
work with cars.
Well, how come you can't drive then?
Well, I can drive, but I choose not to drive.
You choose not to drive?
No.
But you choose to have views on car registration plates?
Yes.
Thank you again for that little view into your world, Stephen.
Well, you're twisting things now here, Tommy.
Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express. Car number plates. It is ridiculous, isn't it? It is hideous. It is expensive. It's probably dangerous. We can easily come up with something better, can't we, for goodness sake? It's the same with postcodes. They're hideous. You get a lovely address, something like Rose Cottage, Dove Lane, Little Pimlington, Worcestershire, EQ19. Is that a prison number? Come on, we can do better than number plates. Heather calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Heather, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. I think this is brilliant what you're saying, because they are a real pain, these number plates, and they're such an elitist thing. And I think that a good idea would be something like the Kennel Club. When you buy a dog, you choose a name for it.
Yes.
And then you have to register it, and then they go through the register, and if anybody else in the world has got that name, you can't have it.
Yes. Do they have number plates on boats?
No. I don't know, they usually have
no.
names like Marie Claire, don't they, or something?
Exactly. You know, little cabin cruisers pottering up and down the river at the weekend.
Yeah.
They don't have a registration number. They all have a different name.
That's right, and it makes them personal, and you buy one because it's got a name that you
like. The Marie Celeste, the Titanic. Thank you, Heather, for your support on this one. Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express. And the last word on number plates goes to Stephen in Blackpool. Stephen.
Tommy,
sir,
if the police come across a car, they use the registration number, it can tell them the make of car, colour of car, the owner of the vehicle, can tell them the engine number, the chassis number. You need it for the MOT, you need it for identification purposes, you need it for insurance purposes. Say, for an example, somebody stole your car. The police are driving along, they see this car, you've not reported it stolen, you don't know. They see the registration number, they can do a PNC on it, they can identify the address that it's from, the owner of the vehicle, and where it should be and where it shouldn't be. Yeah, you need registration plates. To say you don't is absolutely stupid. I'm sorry, Tommy, but, I mean, all right, you can have personalised registration plates.
I think there's an important point here, you know. You're only looking at this from the point of view of the police.
Well, I'm looking at the point of view from myself.
But what about the criminal?
Oh, it's damn sight easier for a criminal to just shove, you know, easy walloper on a number plate for the back of his car, wouldn't it?
Criminals sometimes don't get the respect that they deserve. They keep an awful lot of people in jobs, you know.
Well, they do, yeah. They keep the police in employment.
Exactly.
Well, look at Tommy. Can I just say?
No, because we've run out of time, but thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Peter Dealey is next. I look forward to talking with you from 3 tomorrow. I'm Tommy Boyd.
DHL Worldwide Express, the world's #1 international.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.